Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm One Vexy Guy, and today we'll be going over an opinion-based video on the new Trials of Osiris and the last 2 weeks have transpired. Real quick, when I wanted to make this channel, right, when I originally set out to create this channel, I wanted to really just look back at some of my old gameplay and see if how I could improve. But as saying that is from show us some gameplay, show some of my builds that I use that are come from more of an average player's perspective. And on top of that, I also wanted to give some opinions on based on some of the game changes or things of that nature, also from an average gamer's perspective, to this game and see how it affects us as opposed to how it affects the really good people or the really bad people. And haven't really done much of that, so I figured what a better way to start that than doing the Trials endgame PvP activity. I would love to generate some discussions down in the comments. Let me know what your opinions are on the things that we talk about. Just always remember to be respectful. So first I wanted to touch on last week. I'm sure almost all of you know about the changes that happened to Trials last week. But I really just wanted to talk about a few things in particular because I really felt like last week was an amazing change. It really was great just from even me playing Trials. So the solo queue, the queuing things where you could join now with just, you don't have to have a full 3 stack, was great. It really helped to get everybody in, and it let me play at different times where I didn't necessarily have 3 people on, but I had another person that just wanted to play, and we just wanted to have some fun with it. The loot system changes were amazing because it helped you so that you didn't have to win every game, and that when you got to essentially 7 wins, if you just stayed there, even if you weren't flawless, you were still getting rewards towards your engrams, which could help you get things maybe you hadn't had, or could help you get better rolls on weapons that you were looking for. So I found that was really a great tool, great way to do things. It worked out really well. And also with the anti-cheat going on, I found that was amazing, and people, especially in the PC community, were loving it, said that they actually could play Trials, which is great because it is a really fun game mode. 3v3 with a more competitive twist on it is fun. I will say a couple things we ran into was, me personally, was the first day, Friday, when I got in, the skill-based matchmaking was, I don't know what it was set to, but I was playing in lobbies that had no reason to be in those lobbies. Had no business being there. And I was checking Destiny Tracker. Don't know what you guys use to check. I don't know what Destiny uses for ELOs or to test how good you are, but I use Destiny Tracker. It's the closest thing that I know of. And I faced some games there where I was looking back, and some of the teams had like double to over double my team's ELO. So we had no business being in those lobbies. But after a couple of games, it took about 10 really fast losses, but still got some rewards. It evened out, and the playing field was great. The other thing I want to talk about was the solo droppers. So a couple of games, if I entered solo and there's 3 solos against 3 solos, or whatever, somebody, if we're losing, we're down, let's say 2-0 or 3-0, someone would drop out. And that kind of sucked because it changed from being that, we have a very small chance, but we do have a chance of supers or things of that nature to get back into it, to now we really don't have much of a chance at all. But overall, last week, great changes. Loved almost everything that they did. And for some of the problems I brought up, they even have solutions going forward. Like they're going to do the same thing they do for survival, where you get penalized if you keep on dropping out. So I found that last week was really amazing for Trials. Okay, and now we come to this week. And this week was interesting because essentially had all the good stuff we kept from last week, except now what they've done is they've implemented one new change, which is essentially they're putting people into 2 pools. They're putting people into the flawless pool or non-flawless pool. So essentially, as you all start, we're in the non-flawless pool, and as you go flawless throughout the weekend, you go in the other pool, and you only play people from that pool going forward. It's account-wide. It is not character-based. It's not card-based. You can reset your card and do it again, but it is just as soon as you're in that pool for the rest of the weekend. This brings up some stuff. This is interesting. I know that we had some problems at the beginning this week where Twitter was, going crazy about it, was because that they didn't put the little time cap on it. So Bungie had said that they're going to wait a couple hours before they implemented the flawless, non-flawless pools, so that you'd have a greater population in those pools. But they didn't. They did it right away, so people were upset about that. However, the way I look at this is that there are 3 camps of people. there are the people, and this is just from what I've read, what I've watched, is people, and basically who I've spoken to, is there's the people who haven't really played Trials before at all. Maybe they hopped in last week, but they haven't really played it much, and they don't, PvP is not really their thing. They're just playing it to get some loot from it, because now they can get, not only they can get the Trials loot, but they have a good chance of getting an adept weapon because of the matchmaking system. And those people, from what I can understand, generally just love this change because they have a bit of a challenge getting to the lighthouse, but if they can actually get to the lighthouse, maybe with some help, maybe without some help. But then once they're at the lighthouse, as long as they keep their card at 7 wins, even if they get stomped for the next, 20 games, they're still getting rewards and working towards those engrams to work towards that loot. Then you have the quote unquote sweatier people. They were just complaining a bit because they're not able to help their friends out anymore, because as soon as they go to the lighthouse and let's say they want to go help their lower light level friends out, or not light level, but their lower skilled friends out and try and get them to the lighthouse as well, they can't do that all of a sudden, because now they're match made only with people who've been to the lighthouse, and it'll be a lot harder for them to do that. And so it's an interesting argument there. I'm not really. Like I said, the other 3 pools, the non-experienced and the average people, I'm more in line with, have more information about them. The sweatier people, not as much, simply because I'm just not part of that crowd. They're all a lot better than I am. So that's what I've heard. Other than that, I really think that these guys and girls know that Trials is supposed to be kind of sweaty, so they're kind of used to it. They're the ones who are playing it before, so not much of a change for them. Now, the average gamer like myself, I think, has a bit more of a problem, because the way I look at it is that to get to the lighthouse now, and let's be fair, I haven't been to the lighthouse except for last weekend. And last weekend's lighthouse was amazing. It was a real tough trip. It's what you're watching in the background there. It was hard fought. It was good. It had some games that were really tough and some games that were a little bit easier. And then the last 2 games, we really shouldn't have won according to ELO standards, but so it was a real difficult to get there, right? But also really fun. It was challenging. This week I found getting to the lighthouse not really that challenging. We went through it pretty fast. Essentially people were playing, especially as I was doing it later on in the week, were either at my skill level or below. And then when we got to the lighthouse and we were okay, everything's good, and then we're playing against that pool, people are either my skill levels, like the lower echelon of things, and then everyone else is way above. So it was really difficult to get wins. So essentially, you're not getting much better because you're playing people, and getting to the lighthouse, you're like, you're picking up bad habits. You're just rushing in because you can take them, because they're having difficulty shooting you or tracking you or know the map. And then you go to the next level and you're getting absolutely stomped before you get out of spawn. You're like, okay, right? So I find that it's a little bit tougher for the middle group, and as another as True Vanguard said, he was talking about that. He's bringing up some of the points that I was bringing up in one of his streams there, but he was saying that maybe if we tried a different map, it wouldn't be as bad. And I do agree that perhaps a different map. I'm down to try it again, but maybe a different map would be okay. But overall, I gotta say that if it was up to me, I think that last week was where they could really shine. I think that skill-based matchmaking, in my opinion, is the way to go with this. You just need to give it a little bit of time to actually get sorted out. So you can't just, expect the first week or maybe even the second weekend for it to work very well. But once you really obtain that average of your play style, then what happens is your lower level people are playing lower level people with maybe at their game 6 and 7 a little bit higher, so they have to really feel like they really accomplished something. It has a climax. Your average people are playing a little bit below, playing a little bit above, depending on how their last win streak were, and your upper echelon of people are playing upper echelon of people, because last week they had a little bit of a complaint that they're saying that they got to the lighthouse and really were facing singles that weren't very good. There wasn't a team, there wasn't much of a challenge to it. That's because, if we give skill-based matchmaking some time to set in, perhaps it would be a challenge for them. Anyway, I think that we're going to continue. I think Bungie's going to continue with this kernel logarithm, and as I said, it works. It works fine. I'd like to see it on a different map. Perhaps giving it a little more time might work out. But in my opinion, using skill-based matchmaking would probably be, I think, the best way to go to have the most fun overall. If you made it this far, please let me know down below your experience or your opinions on things. I'd love to hear it. Love to get your feedback on how you're finding Trials, or if you stepped in, or if you got flawless, or what you think is going forward. Anyway, thanks a lot for stopping by, and appreciate it. Have a great day.